So I think these are areas we need to think about. A colleague talked about geopolitics, but I also want to add the other bigger powers outside the region and how they influence our elections. What does the US think? Which candidate is which country supporting, and how are candidates dealing with that, especially in the media. The last part I want to talk about is, I know Grace has talked about social media, but I want to talk about the role of big data and how the managers or the owners of Google and Facebook end up managing our elections, managing the statistics and choosing who should participate and who should not participate online. So I think that their ability to control our participation and then participation will be important.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, you are going wrong. We'll get to you. We are now going this side.
Thank you. My name is Dina Chwaluka. I work with the RDP Uganda Assembly. On the themes, I think one of the things we may need to think about is on the poor versus the rich, whereby the poor may have become voters and then the rich have becoming what? The candidates. So that is something we may need also a question as we write this. And then the other thing is the process issue. What I wanted to share is the process issue.
So sorry.
You to be able to
I see that there are many people who are writing chats. So I've asked him to just make sure that he collects those. But please, I'm now right with you. Please go back properly to the process issue.
No, I hadn't started the process issues. There are two. One,
yeah.
How do we run this project as a process, or we launch it as an outcome? For example, running it as a process would necessitate that we finish a book, and that we finish a chapter or a theme, and it becomes a national conversation. But running it as an outcome would necessitate that we finish it, launch it, and then someone picks a book like this and we do what? Is able to read, to internalize our election. So that's something we may need to make it. But along the way, maybe as a process issue, it will help us engage citizens around it. Then the other process issue is we run this project of a book in isolation. Or we run it because I know there are other civic processes going on, like you are doing civic education in the civil society. The media is engaging. How do we make it, how do we create an intersection between this book, because the book is not a common thing in our Ugandan code, as much as you said 2016 there was one, which many of us did not interface with. But how do we link it to other processes that are ongoing in as far as shaping our election is concerned? Finally, and I think Moses did mention about the Afrobarometer. The Afrobarometer has the latest report has last report 2023 indicated reducing appetite for citizens on the continent to consume elections and democracy. How do we use this process to increase, because ideally, if you are keen, the spokesperson of the MOK movement did mention that their patron may not be on the ballot paper, but may be a president. What does it mean? That statement, that the people are already prepared, as we prepare for an election, other people are preparing for a non-electoral process of bringing in leaders. So I think, how do we navigate these conversations and submit?
Thank you very much. Good. We have a full year to answer these questions, so don't mind. I'm not, there is no illusion that we can have answers today. So Please ask them.
Yeah, thank you very much. My name is Robert Sempala. I work with the Human Rights Network for Journalists Uganda. And this framing is very, very key because it comes way in time. So it will inform a lot of discussions, and as opposed to the post-mortems that we normally have. Yeah? So here I am looking at the civic education by way of participating Ugandans in the process, its impact in the entire electoral process. So for me, that's an area that I would really be keen to input as a process. The other should be about the obtaining environment in which we conduct our elections. I see a lot of election petitions, less of them before elections, you know, to like streamline the environment in which the elections are going to take place. Of course, there are so many obnoxious clauses in our legal frameworks that are an impediment to free, fair, and credible elections. But we do less of that, cleansing through the courts. So I would like us to put emphasis in trying to, clean the environment through the judicial processes before we embark on the really 2026 elections as they may play out. I see a lot of it in our neighboring countries now happening. If you're going to have an election and you're not sure of the electoral processes, they will go to court to challenge. And that for me helps, fit into a process that we are dreaming of. So it's a good process that we're starting a discussion right here and now. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I want to first thank the organizers for inviting me here. Actually, when I received the call yesterday, I really wondered, but it's something that is worth it, spending time on. My colleague there talked of the poor being the voters and the rich being the candidates. That brings in the issue of the poverty levels. How poor are these poor people? And then that brings in the vulnerability and the monetization of the voting process. These people, because for me I'm from a very rural place, they don't mind about what you are saying. They don't mind about your issues, whether you are talking issues or not. The question is, what are you leaving behind for us? And those are the people that are determining our political trends. Because you come, you talk whatever you are talking, you give them money, and then they vote for you. And then the question is, what are we going to do about it? Yes, we are here to write a book. The rich may not mind about reading the book because they have their tool, the money. And then the poor, who are the majority and illiterate, they will not even be able to read the book. And even the few that will read the book, money will manage them, will manage their mind. So the question is, where are we going? Apart from the book, what else can we, the rich people who come to ask the poor to be voted? We really need to look deep into these issues. So, because at the end of the day, we want to see impact. We want to see change. Therefore, before we see, for us to see that change, we need to look at the depth of the problem. Because it may be a 6-inch problem, and we are bringing 2-inch solution.
verses to it. That's very powerful.
So
Okay.
just to add on what my colleague was saying, as someone who works in the remote areas, he talks about so many issues that are going to be taken up in the whole process. But I'm here thinking and questioning myself, yes, it is the poor who vote, but this book could come out and the people with money might not even really mind. Like, we have so many ways we can access it. But for the people I work with, let's say in the refugee camps, down in the rural areas, how are we going to be able to access the book? How are we going to disseminate this whole information so that they get to understand what we are talking about? Because when you look at most of these things, they need to know. They need to know, but how are we going to make them understand this whole thing?
Thank you. Brenda, well, good thing you can answer. I'm really not worried, so please go ahead. Go ahead.
Sometimes all processes have scope limitations. They can only bite as much as they can. Working on a book project, starting with your question on process versus outcome, I think previous experience would guide this, and the way to approach this would be to continuously engage as many stakeholders as possible. Once we have framed the preliminary content for each of these chapters, normally, in addition to the field research that researchers do, conducting as much research as they can do, as far rural as they can go, we normally hold periodic interfaces here with the different stakeholders, state agencies, civil society, media. We invite our bishops and the sheikhs to come and give us their side of the story. In the process, one, we are communicating the preliminary findings, but also two, we are getting more information and input from all those different stakeholders. I'm not sure we have resources to allow us to go and interact with them from the different regions of Uganda, but if that were possible, that would be the best way to go about it. Now, when there are other people who are in the process doing similar, one, we are communicating applied research, the preliminary findings, and civil society organizations. We are getting more information. Sometimes from encourage those to adapt some of their work. I'm not sure we have resources to allow us to go and interact with them. Sometimes we encourage others to co-author with our authors. If that were possible, we encourage them to pick what we have and write policy briefs and there are other media conversations and hold talk shows, so that the conversation can hold research compound spreads as much as it can. Many times we involve the media to make sure that the conversations we hold here spread as much as possible, eyes and ears as they can extend. But again, you can only do as much. There will be a news bulletin, there will be a conversation on TV, and only those who will watch it or have interest in the subject matter will find themselves involved. So the process, I think, will involve as different stakeholders as possible, with the lead researchers picking as much as information they can pick from as many sources as possible. So we combine the traditional methods and canons of research with the stakeholder engagement approach to be able to broaden and deepen the issues we come up with. Then on the issue of my sister on the depth of the problem vis-a-vis the solution we are applying, I'm not sure CBR has the means to for instance, change the presidential transition, answer the presidential transition question in Uganda. The only work that we can do is to bring here intellectuals, and they share their worries, they make their prescriptions and suggestions, and also bring it to the attention of the ordinary citizens that this is not right. I don't think anyone in the government is unaware that there is a serious transition problem, whether in the security services or even in the presidency. They are aware. But because politics